Hi, today I want to make the case for dictionaries. What does that mean, to make the case for something? To make the case for something means to find arguments in favor of something. And that is in favor of getting you to use dictionaries rather than just Google words, right? I don't want to do Google words. I'd much rather you look them up in the dictionary. And the main reason why I wanted to use dictionaries is because dictionaries are written by professionals. These people are called lexicographers, and they study for many years how to write definitions and how to write a good dictionary. That takes a lot of time. It is very difficult. So much so that second-rate dictionaries on many occasions just lift definitions of the good ones, which are the ones we're going to see today. We have Merriam-Webster, and we're also going to take a look at Oxford Learners Dictionaries and Cambridge Dictionary. Now, I think you already know that Merriam-Webster is American English, whereas the other two are British English. And that means that that's a different region, and that's a huge difference. But honestly, to me, that's not the main difference between these dictionaries. The main difference is that Merriam-Webster dictionary, the one you can check out online, is the collegiate version. The collegiate version means that this is a dictionary written for native speakers of English who are at university level, who are studying at university, any field, right, and need support from a dictionary. And that's why they have written this dictionary, right? There are other versions. Actually, this dictionary is abridged. That is to say, it has been shortened for easy use, for easy reference. There's another Merriam-Webster dictionary that is called the unabridged, and that is only available through subscription, right? Now, maybe the same happens for Oxford dictionaries, but they're impossible to pay, right? Because you get the big one with, I think, 20 volumes, right? That's a bit too much. Now, going back to this, now that's a huge difference in terms of the audience, right? One thing is an audience that is educated, that is at university level, and that is native speaker of the language. Quite another is this dictionary, which is for learners, right? For people who use English as a second language, and that means the definition is going to be a lot simpler. If you look up the word thesaurus today, right, it will tell you that it is a book that lists words in groups that have similar meanings. Now, it is a synonyms dictionary, right? And Merriam-Webster will tell us that a thesaurus is a book of words, once again, or of information about a particular field or set of concepts. As you can see already, this definition is more nuanced, and that's what's going to happen with all definitions. For words you look up on Merriam-Webster, they're going to be more precise. There will be subtleties of meaning. The definitions will be more rigorous, more refined. Whereas these other two dictionaries are going to be more straightforward. Sorry, I got the wrong tab. More straightforward, simpler definitions, right? With language that is easier, right? And simpler. Now, after you check the definition, you will also want to check maybe the nearby words here. You'll get, in this case, of course, the definition is very, very brief because it is a word that doesn't have many senses, but there will be orders for senses in other words. Soon we'll look up the word convince. Oops, I got the wrong tab. When you look up the word convince, there will be many senses, sense number 1, sense number 2, and maybe something here, right? Which word, persuade or convince. And the same happens here when you go to the thesaurus. But Merriam-Webster offers these questions, other words from thesaurus, right? You can go to thesaurial, right, which is the adjective, and also some extra information about the word. In this case, there's a lot of etymological information here and maybe more examples that are also called illustrations, right? That's a technical term for an example. And also this definition here comes with some sort of synonym as well. You will see that when we take a look at how definitions are written. Okay, so now I want to move on to something different, and that is something else the dictionary has to offer. If you click help here, you're going to go to a section, the help section of the dictionary, that has help on different matters: how to use the dictionary online, how to cite, audio pronunciation, words and dictionaries, well, more references for pronunciation. And here we're going to go to the explanatory notes of the dictionary, not to the thesaurus. And here you will find lots of entries that explain to you several things that are really, really important. First, we're going to check out definitions and how definitions are written. And as regards definitions, sorry, let me go back. No, that's okay. Let's stay here in definitions. And under definitions, well, you'll be told that the word that is being defined is going to appear in boldface. Sorry, here you see Pierre Sokolowski. We're going to talk about him in a minute. How boldface is used and how light face are used here, right? And they explain why they use lowercase letters also. Now, another aspect here is how senses are ordered, and that's very important. In this case, the entry is historical. That is to say, they will give you the first sense is the one that appeared first, right? And maybe you think that's the most frequent use, and that's what happens with Oxford Learner's dictionaries, right? The first one is usually the most frequent. They don't tell us that in the explanations. Sometimes senses are omitted, some extra information about individual senses. Of course, we're not going to read all of this information, but I wanted to check that they will explain to you when there is an abbreviation and how to expand it. And then we're going to go to entries, and under entries, they will explain to you once again how they use boldface and light face, symbols, orders, homographs, and this end-of-line division that I think is very important. We rarely know how to separate words in English, and this is how you divide them. Merriam-Webster gives you this tiny dot here that tells you how to divide words, which is something rarely people know how to do. To finish, we're going to go to sorry, not to finish, we're going to check out the functional labels. The functional labels are the ones that are going to tell us the parts of speech. This is a very odd expression, parts of speech. It comes from Greek, apparently. It's a direct translation into Latin from Greek, and that's why it sounds so awful. Probably a mistranslation, right? We tend to use word class today, so we will tell you what the words is: an adjective, an adverb, a noun, a preposition, a conjunction, etc. But also here you will get sorry, no, not those were the functional labels. And now we're going to go to usage, which is going to tell you about another type of labels, which is usage labels. This dictionary uses temporal, regional, and stylistic labels, and they tell you, for example, the temporal labels, there are three. They will tell you whether the word is obsolete, that is to say that there's no evidence of it since 1755, whether it is archaic, and that is quite different, because when a word is archaic, it can be found, sorry, I'm trying to find the explanation, it can be found today, but it is sporadically found, right? Another type of label is a regional label, and that tells you something about the dialect, whether this is British English or dialect English or any other regional reference. And finally, there are stylistic labels such as slang that will tell you something about the register of the word. You get slang, non-standard, disparaging, offensive, obscene, vulgar. And you see already here, there's a fine distinction. Maybe you would say, okay, all of these words are, I don't know, informal. But there's a difference between saying something that is disparaging or maybe very critical or offensive, so that it hurts someone, or obscene, so it touches on topics that are not general, right? And finally, you get the illustrations of usage. Illustrations, false friend, right? Illustration no es ilustración o dibujo, sino que es un ejemplo, right? So, and they come set off in angle brackets for Merriam-Webster, right? I think that's about it. Oh, no, wait. They're the usage notes that are very, very useful. This is a very brief explanation. After a word, there's a dash, usually using the phrase give an inch, right? So something extra. But apart from a usage note, sometimes you get what they call a usage paragraph, so much more detailed explanations about a certain word. In this case, they're talking to you about the word aggravate. Americans get very aggravated by the wrong use of aggravate. Now, remember, Merriam-Webster, most dictionaries today are descriptive, so they will just tell you what the situation is. It will not say this is right and this is wrong, right? But there seems to be something right and wrong about this word, as there seems to be about the word irregardless. If you look up the word irregardless, they will tell you this word is non-standard. To be frank, there used to be a video on irregardless, but it was made by one of the editors that left the dictionary. She's Corey Stamper. She wrote a book, and I think she has gone, right? She's no longer working for Merriam-Webster. And then the usage guide is irregardless a word, right? And to carry on talking about this, I will take you to convince, which is a topic that actually upsets British English speakers, whether we use convince or persuade. And to be frank, Lexico here does the same thing with convince. You will find the usage note here explaining to you whether we should be using convince or persuade. Now, I'm not going to tell you. You're going to look them up. You're going to read them out, but you will see that maybe let me see, yes, irregardless does merit an entry here, but not here. Yes, I looked it up. So if you look up irregardless, they will just not list it, right? And that relates to this question whether irregardless is a word or not, right? What I wanted to single out here is that actually British and American speakers may have different views on what they want to discuss, right? So maybe you find something, I didn't check aggravate here. I believe there should be a note. It will be, so let's see, there's extra examples. Oh, I clicked something, sorry. No, synonym irritate, right? So there's nothing about this word that upsets British English speakers. Also, I think I may have forgotten to mention that here you get the nearby words, so you are aggravated or aggravating. These are very useful links as well. Now, another link that Oxford Dictionaries offers is the topic dictionary, right? If you click word list, this tab, at the bottom you will find topics, and you will find different topics with different subtopics, and this is just vocabulary, right? And I don't know if you noticed, but you could go to the topics here, illness, and go there, right? And it will take you to the, well, maybe they will. Yes, the link is working. So you will go to another way of talking about well, but because this is a classification they have that is really, really confusing, I suggest you don't pay attention to that. All right, one more thing I want to say about this Lexico dictionary is that this used to be called actually Oxford Dictionaries. So this was Oxford Learners Dictionaries, right? Learners. And this used to be called Oxford Dictionaries. Now it is called Lexico, but it's still powered by Oxford. Well, same thing, right? What this dictionary has to offer is many more examples, right? Many more examples, and also usage notes. There's a usage note for irregardless in this case. All right. So let's move on to Cambridge Dictionaries. For Cambridge Dictionaries, I suggest you click the English tab. Oh, this is already done here. And what I find that is really good here is that they have a very nice, for thesaurus, for example, they have this very nice list of synonyms and related words. So if you go to books, you will find this little box with not just synonyms, but words that are related. So that's interesting, right? Sometimes you find nice expressions. So I don't know. Oh, I spelled it incorrectly there. Uptight. Let's see what happens. Uptight. Oh, mental state, anal. That's very strong. Anxious and worried. And you see this box is a lot. Woof. That's a huge box. Damn it. I click again on the wrong thing. So you can see lots of information here. All right. Dictionaries. I just want to say that this dictionary, the Random House Dictionary of the English Language, 2nd edition, unabridged, is fantastic. It is no longer available, but if you can buy it secondhand, I strongly recommend it. It's really, really good. The definitions are great. Now we're going to move on to another type of dictionary. This is the collocations dictionary. Here I looked up the word persuade, so it tells you what adverbs fit with persuade: successfully, almost, eventually. Then if you use a verb plus persuade, you attempt to persuade, you endeavor to persuade, you seek to persuade, you hope to persuade. I'm here. And then, well, prepositions, phrases, an attempt, an effort to persuade, and whatnot. This collocations dictionary is powered also by Oxford. So collocations are words that typically occur with the word you're trying to use. So these are really helpful. And this is another type of collocations dictionary. It's not a collocation. It's not a dictionary. Actually, but if you look up the word convince, you will get lots of words that collocate with that word. And if you click on the word, you will go to the British National Corpus, right? So this actually is based on a corpus, which is a huge computer where lots of texts have been uploaded, and you get all the uses of that word, right? So you usually, as you can see here, you usually convince people. All right, now we're going to move on to something different. We're going to go to pronunciations. This is a site that is called Youglish. Maybe you know other sites. I really like this one. And it teaches you how to, actually it provides videos with pronunciations for words you may not know how to pronounce because they do not appear in the dictionary. There will be a video on pronunciation. Oops. Let's go back here. I will explain something about pronunciations here, but sometimes when you need a name, well, that will not appear in the dictionary, so I use Youglish.
Developed by Carl Linnaeus, a Swedish monk in the 1700s.
And what Linnaeus said. And
Linnaeus, right?
The scale. That's the famous biologist Carl Linnaeus.
Linnaeus
once said that
Linnaeus. Well,
there truly a cerebrum, L. Linnaeus.
L. Linnaeus. Actually, pronunciation dictionary also goes Linnaeus, right? But well, people will disagree. It doesn't matter. Why have I given you this name, this odd name about this botanist or biologist, scientist, whatever? That will be clear in the next video about definitions. Okay, thank you very much. That is all.